Welcome to the American Made and Paid Show, the home of free speech and independent thought.
The big story is freedom of speech is really in trouble. The far left knows that at any time they can call for a sponsor boycott of anyone they despise.
It is right here, right now, where you'll get your weekly dose of unfiltered truth.
It's non-negotiable. Pre-existing conditions will be protected. This president has said this as a candidate.
Insight.
Very few people I know could have handled it. We can never, ever let this happen to another president again.
And information that challenges the American way of life.
Welcome, everybody, to the American Made and Paid Show. Sorry, we've been gone for a couple of weeks. The truth of the matter is my co-host here, Professor Dreg, was actually working a lawsuit, which I'll let him talk about because it'll probably serve as the basis for today's episode. I know we kind of left abruptly. We haven't put up an episode this September, but for all of you listening, thank you for your patience. Yeah, you know, it's gotten to the point where sometimes we're just busy, and I know that's not a good excuse, but I want to let you all know that that's the case. We're not gone. We're going to resume this and get this going. I'm actually going to Dallas this week, but we'll still be able to do it because I'll be at a friend's house. So we're gonna keep this going no matter what. But you know, business is business. So can you update us on what went on? Because you are involved in the law with the counselor, and you were doing a case regarding, what was it?
Well, basically workers' rights. This matter was about there's a huge corporation, and
well, name of the corporation, or you can't talk about it. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, we can't talk. No, because it's still ongoing.
Oh, okay.
So, and because it's just so we really can't. I can't say the name of the corporation until we win. But we spoke about this and you know, last week, and even you knew these things because of your experience in HR, human resources.
Right.
So basically, this is about workers' right and how companies try to get around workers' comp insurance.
Sure. That's a very common thing. Insurance fraud was a common thing I dealt with too in my old role, where people would basically file false claims to get workers' comp insurance. And was that what this was involving? We can talk a little bit about workers' comp.
No, but I see, you know what? Like, I wasn't planning on it, but I think this is a pretty good topic because it's a very interesting topic. Workers' compensation is mandated in California. You have to have workers' comp insurance, and the reason for this is so that if you get injured on the job, the business is supposed to take care of it.
Sure.
So what ends up happening is, you know, like small mom and pop businesses. See, workers' comp insurance, in my opinion, is made to destroy small businesses. Because, you know, a small business, like what we're trying to do, we're trying to, you know, open up a nightclub or start a radio, you know, a multimedia show,
Sure.
you know, so, and it's going to be small. We're not a big, giant corporation. So because we are small, why do I need to buy insurance just in case you get injured talking too much? You know what I mean? But I have to, by law, I have to buy workers' comp insurance just in case you slip and fall or something like that, which is total BS. If I'm already giving you health insurance, why do I have to double up on the insurance? One, for health insurance. If you slip and fall, you can go to your doctor and get help. Or, you know, you slip and fall on the job and then it comes out and it's a business expense. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
So it's you're hurting the small business person by making them choose. Either you give them regular health benefits, or you force them into workers' comp.
So what was this particular dispute you were dealing with? Was it insurance fraud that we can talk about it and how it pertains to?
Well, see, I was setting it up. So there's two types of fraud. There's the type of fraud that individuals do, like they purposely injure themselves just to get the money, which you've probably seen a lot of, right? No, but it's true. Like, I don't know if you ever heard of this thing called Beavis and Butthead, a TV show.
Yeah, that's an old show. Never really watched it, but
so so basically, Beavis and Butthead were working at this burger shop, like Burger World or something like that. And the entire episode, they were trying to injure themselves on the job by pouring hot oil on themselves and, doing all kinds of crazy things, but they couldn't hurt themselves until they were mopping and then they fell and broke his back or something. So that's that type of fraud. But then there's another type of fraud. When you're a big giant insurance company, you can do something called self-insured.
Okay.
So basically, it's just like car insurance. If you're rich, you put up $1 million and you don't need car insurance. And basically, corporations don't have to do this. Like, they could do the same. You don't need workers' comp insurance if you just self-insure. Like, you just put up a whole bunch of money and there you go. So the problem with big companies doing this is that they don't have to follow the rules that a small business would have to. So when I apply for workers' comp as a small business owner, I'm going to have to tell the insurance company every potential hazard that my employees might have to deal with. Because if I don't, then the insurance company will not cover it. So, for example, in a nightclub, my bouncers are going to be dealing with, violent people, drunk people. So I have to disclose that to the insurance company to get a fair, to pay a fair rate. In this case that we're working with, this company is self-insured. Mm-hmm. So, and here's the thing. When you're self-insured, you're supposed to automatically work with the doctors. So when I do it, like with this scenario talking about the bouncers, if the bouncers get hurt on the job, we work with the doctors or the ER room and say, hey, look, this guy was shot, blah, 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 blah. He got stabbed by a drug needle in the bathroom. We're supposed to work with the doctor so the doctors know exactly what's going on, because the patient, the injured employee, they're in shock or something. They don't really know, what I mean? Because they honestly don't know all the hazards like the way a boss or an owner would. So when you are self-insured, it's, quote unquote, Scout's honor. So, in a big corporation, the manager or the district manager or whoever, CEO of the company, they're supposed to call the doctor and tell the doctors every possible hazard. Right. So that way the doctor could do a proper treatment, proper diagnosis, and do a limited, return to work. I forgot what it's called, but when you go back to work with limited duty, there's a paper, I forgot what it's called, but either way,
limited duty is just well, I actually don't know what that is.
Yeah, no,
reserve.
Well, it's work restrictions. So you're going back to work with all these restrictions. It's a name.
Well, yeah, I know what you're talking about, and it's blanking me right now too. It's shoot, man. This is what happens when you haven't spent over a year in employment. I think I was gonna say like, well, yeah, work restrictions. I can't really think.
Yeah. So but here's the
assisted something. Shoot.
Yeah, no, but it's something.
I feel really stupid right now. Normally, I don't blank on words. Words are the one thing that
Yeah, because it's one of those weird forms that only HR knows. You got to be in HR to know the name of these forms. But anyway, so long story short, now when you're self-insured and you don't have an insurance company, telling you what to do, it's really Scout's honor. Mm-hmm. So as a self-insured employer, you have to go to the doctor and say, hey, look, these are all the hazards. And if they don't, then the injured employee is, in essence, denied medical treatment and medical care, because they're going to say, hey, look, you're not injured because your employer said all these things and you're saying something else. So
here, this leads into another topic that I want to get into, which is when people claim certain disabilities, right, that you can't really detect, like mental health, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It enters into a very complex gray zone. And I remember that when I was working in HR, when it came to people wanting to, I mean, even dispute over sick days, right? I mean, you can have mental health days and all that kind of stuff, but obviously this ties into, you know, our culture today where people are depressed at work. Like people just, you know what I mean? That's a common thing in our culture. And, you know, you have to actually recognize that when people say things like, I can't work because I feel this way, can't work because I'm anxious, I got anxiety or whatnot, like we have to abide by that. And the thing is, I remember interviewing somebody, asking them like, well, what can we do to make your job a little bit better? You know, how can we, this is the word, reasonable accommodations. That's what it's called.
You go.
There we go. Now I remember what it's called. So we would have to do that, right? In order to, I guess, prevent the extreme from happening, which is somebody getting hurt, somebody, you know, obviously being called out of work for whatever kind of issues they have, you would have to make reasonable accommodations. And you have to be very careful with what you ask, because you can't ask things that would, because, okay, so let me back up a little bit.
It has to be reasonable.
Yeah, it has to be. But here's the thing. When you interview people, there's certain questions you can't ask. Like I've learned that, I think, recently. Before, there used to be job descriptions where it's like, hey, you got to be able to sit, squat, bench, you know, 8 hours a day, be able to stand on the job. Even if you're working an office job, that's like inside the job description. But you can't ask certain questions. You can't ask somebody if they have any pre-existing conditions, if they can do a job or not. But the problem is when you hire them and that does come up, then you just have to make reasonable accommodations. But you can't deny somebody sort of a entry or a role because of any kind of conditions like that, even if you can't detect it. And even if it compromises their ability to be able to do the job or not. See, that's where it kind of sucks, because having to deal with it is just.
Well, you know, believe it or not, when it comes to health issues, you have a right to ask. Because if the employer doesn't know that you have an injury, how are they going to help you prevent aggravating that injury? If that makes any sense. Because, you know, you don't want to be put in a position where you're working, doing a job, and you don't tell your boss you're injured, and guess what? You're doing a job that's going to make it worse. Like, let's say you have asthma, right? If you have asthma, and you're working with cleaning chemicals like, you know, Drano or some kind of bleach product, and you have a sensitivity to chemicals and you're asthmatic, come on. Your boss needs to know that so they can tell you, hey, look, this is what you're going to be working with. You know, just bring me the baby. Just bring me the baby. And that. Hold on a second. The council wants to say something.
Hi.
The company was that it was a one-time bleach issue, and that and that they don't authorize bleach on the property. That was why the judge.
Yeah, I know. I know. But we're not. No, I know. No, but we weren't talking about that. She didn't know we were talking about. So she.
When's the counselor going to show her face?
Well, she's gonna leave. Like, she's leaving right now because she has some kind of settlement conference to go.
Oh, got it. Okay, but you see what I'm trying to say, right? And this is actually an important thing for people. I don't know if people are gonna get any value out of this, but I think talking about how, like knowing your rights in the workplace is funny. You know, the thing is, but I think before this, and I'm going to give everybody a big secret here when it comes to working. If you look at your job description and your employer tells you to do something that's not in your job description, you can say no. I'm revealing a secret here.
Exactly. No, but
but people don't know this. So I'm telling everybody who has a 9-to-5 job right now, if your boss is making you do something absurd, like carry dangerous, hazardous chemicals, and you haven't been trained on how to handle bleach. Like, dude, I remember when I used to work at a Safeway, this was years ago, and they legitimately taught us, like, you don't handle the bleach until somebody shows you. And you may think it's common sense, but it's like, nah, dude, most people don't know how to use bleach. You know not to mix certain things. You know that, that's the last thing. But see, that's what I'm trying to say. For people who work jobs.
Since the counselor came in and just started saying things, I might as well just say it. Okay, so in this
hold on, don't say anything that's going to put you in compromise.
No names. But in this incident, somebody else brought bleach onto the premise and used bleach on the floor.
Okay.
It wasn't random, but it was just some guy. And then so what happened was a person used ammonia-based products to clean up the bleach that somebody else brought in.
Sure, and when you mix that,
it becomes a toxic, cloud, filled with chloramides and things like that. Honestly, you can make chloroform out of those chemicals. Like the knockout thing.
I believe it. Yeah. No.
So anyway, it's crazy what people can do. But anyway, so long story short, the thing is like this. If it is something like a one-time thing only, you're still liable. And even if you say, hey, no, this and that, and they, do something, hey, if you don't do it, I'm going to fire you and things like that. Because it's a slippery slope. Because, that's why, for another episode, I really would like to get into specifics and what to do, how to handle lawsuits, and how to tell your lawyer exactly what to do and what to say, because lawyers are oftentimes confined by case law. They don't even care about the law or how the facts apply to the law. They only care about what previous cases from like 1980 or 1990, before a lot of the listeners are
is that why in courtrooms, right, a lot of people will reference docket numbers and all that kind of stuff to kind of illustrate a point and not real life application? Is that the reason?
Yeah, exactly. Because and that's how all these
wow, you're revealing our secrets, huh?
Yeah, no, but like luckily for me, I'm with a counselor and she agrees with because she agrees with what I do, and which is basically, I always, in my opinion, if the laws are new and this is like a brand, because we deal with a lot of illegal immigration,
right?
So and it's a new thing. We don't have a lot of case law dealing with illegal immigrants, so we have to set precedents, and that's what I'm all about. I believe we should set precedents. And now that I'm I don't want to say I'm a new Christian, but now that
you are.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean? With the Christian perspective,
now
we really have to set precedents based on I don't want to say just Christianity, but the principles of Christianity and how it was meant to be implemented. Because you have to go with the word of with the word of God. You really do.
Yeah.
And all our laws, since the Constitution was based on Christianity and the principles of Christianity, based on what Jesus, literally based on the literal words of Jesus Christ. I'm not kidding you. I'll say it again. Our U.S. Constitution is based on the literal words of Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. I am not kidding you. It's amazing. You really got to read the Bible to understand. Like, the words that are in red?
Yeah.
That's in the Constitution, word per word. And that's what makes it insane. They literally take phrases of the red part, from the King.
Well, that's to illustrate when the Lord Jesus speaks. That's his.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So in the King James Version of the Bible, you'll see how it's done in red.
Yeah.
And those parts are literally taken out and implemented in the Constitution. So,
Well, can you humor a little bit about talk more about lawyers and workplace law? Because I think that this is a perspective you're not going to hear from most people, where it's like how to deal with lawyers. Not that most people are, hopefully they're not dealing with this type of stuff, but the whole workplace thing, like workplace rights. I think even if you're not unionized, and it's technically no fault, which means you can get fired for no reason, and they can do that. But at the same time, if your employer asks you to go grab the bleach, and you've never been trained on how to clean a bathroom floor, and it's not in your job description, don't do it. Like
even if it's in your job description, you still have, because
you haven't been trained. You got to be trained.
Yeah, and not just trained, but you should have the right to safety equipment. Yes. You know what I mean? Like a mask. Because like
gloves and stuff, aprons, and
then and two, like a lot of nurses go through this. A lot of nurses develop I know she really likes you. It's crazy. She's like, it's been so long. But anyway, but even nurses, like a big problem in nursing, if you're a nurse, a lot of nurses will go through this over like 3 to 5 years of working with those latex gloves.
Yeah.
They develop an allergy to it over time. You just, because, you know, you hate to say things like this, but a lot of things we do goes against nature. And because of that, even though nurses are doing a good job, you know, you still develop a, you know, I don't want to say a sensitivity, but you develop a sensitivity against certain chemicals. And that's why so many nurses and doctors develop allergies to latex gloves. It's just a reality. And, you know, and I hate to say things like this because I don't have scientific proof, but I believe there's a reason for this. And it's because most the things that we treat in the hospitals are, you know, most diseases are literally based on our faults. You know what I mean? Like, why do we get cancer?
Well, it's because you're eating badly and you're smoking and
but it's the truth.
It's the truth. Yeah, no, I agree. And you don't need, you can even take a secular point of view and just be like, dude, the stuff you're eating is crap.
It's a lifestyle. No, but it's life. Most disease, like maybe 80 to 85% of all diseases are lifestyle diseases.
Yeah.
And you know, we used to go through this. Oh, if God was so this and that, blah, blah. Why is he giving us diseases and all? But if you understand Romans, you'll understand that it's the carnal mind that creates our lifestyles.
It's correct.
And these diseases are lifestyle choices. You know, and that's just how it goes. Now, things like hurricanes and things like that, you know, is it really a catastrophe? Not really, because when there's a hurricane, guess what hurricanes do? It ends droughts. No, that's the function of a hurricane.
And wildfires create more life.
Yeah, no, but it's the truth. When a place is riddled with droughts, guess what happens? Hurricanes. And hurricanes will spread enough rain all over to regions that are suffering from drought. And it's how it works. That's how the earth functions. You got to have enough common sense to, you know, not live in, you know, beach areas, but, you know, but again, it's lifestyle choices. Who tells these people to live on the beach all the time? You know, knowing, no, but it's the truth. It's like, because everybody says, oh, your God is not merciful. It's like, he has nothing to do with it. We made the choices to go live at the beach.
It would be like saying, I'm going to set up camp at the bottom of a volcano and,
yeah. No, but did you know that actually happened to a guy? He refused to leave. He goes, I've been living here for 40 years and I'm not going to leave.
The thing's going to erupt. You're going to die.
Yeah, no, Mount St. Helens erupted because, you know, Mount St. Helens was dormant for so many years.
Yeah.
Like decades. And all of a sudden, just, you know, they're like, hey, man, it's going to blow. And the guy goes, I've been here for so long. And yeah, he died. You know what I mean? He died. I mean,
but see, that's against what the Bible teaches. That's man's arrogance. That's not humility. That's pride right there. And when you got that, it's, you know, it's carnal. So no, I mean, I think that's the thing. And I was reading this thing on Reddit, which I'll share with you right now, which a big thing that's going on right now is employee accommodation. Even if employers can't recognize it, like for example, a trans employee accommodation. I'm reading this on Reddit. This was posted. I follow the human resources thread. I know people are like, why are you reading Reddit? But you know, there's some stuff here, right? So the deal is, you know, for this particular instance, this is a sales associate who has to work face to face with customers. Like, dude, you're a sales associate. Like dealing with people is 99% of your job, other than carrying the occasional whatever, right? So it's just like, you know, the thing here is the accommodation is, well, they face a lot of transphobia from coworkers and all that kind of refusing to provide details. Now they don't want to come to work. And like the HR rep is being very accommodating by saying, hey, you know what? You want to do customer service where it's not as face-to-face? But here's the deal. The HR person is extending that, right? But the thing is, if she doesn't get that other job, because it's not really a lateral move here, you know, it's sales associate, right? Then what's the deal, right? You either come back to work or you get fired. I mean, that's really just the thing. But here's the deal: the HR rep is being sensitive to her needs, right? But the thing is, like, how do you go about doing it? And I never had to deal. I lived in the San Francisco Bay, but that's a tough thing. Like, I'm going to be real. Even though I don't agree with it, it's like I want to respect people at the same time. But I'm also just like, dude, if you don't do your job, you don't interface with customers. I mean, that's 90% of your job description. It's like, what do you want me to do? It's like, either you take the job or I let you go.
But honestly, this is what I would do. I'll say, hey, look, I could put you on the phones and it's a paid deduction, or you're going to just have to suck it up. Seriously. And that's what you tell them.
And the thing is, this person has not experienced any kind of discrimination yet. Like, she hasn't filed in a report. She hasn't, sent anything to HR or whatnot. It's just the fact that historically she's faced misgendering, direct transphobia. But you see, like, how, like, that's the thing. It's, I mean, it has,
Have you ever heard of EAP? Employee Assistance Program?
Absolutely.
See, and that's what you would have to do. You would have to send her to EAP.
You know this, yeah, because the thing is, what you don't want is the EEOC like sniffing around your work.
Yeah, no, but you give them counseling and you tell them point blank, you got to make these transgender people, because look, it's their choice. You know what I mean? It's their choice to live in this illusion that they're, well, it's not an illusion. They're messed up.
We've clarified that on the show, but let's just keep things equal, not go into it. But just say, okay, if you want to live that way, understand that you still got to do a job here. You still got to.
And you have to be professional towards other people who may not like you. And it's the same thing. And I'll say it like this. If I'm a black employee and I have to deal with a whole bunch of hicks who don't like you, I can't tell the hicks to stop using, subtle things like calling me porch monkey or something like that. You know what I mean? I said, because if that's what customers are going to say, I can't just start yelling at them, or because it's also an assault and we don't want to fight with these people. So, the thing is, EAP should help this guy go through like the transition, how to deal with people in real society. And it's like, look, and you have to make this point as the EAP counselor. Is your coworkers harassing you or misgendering you? Because if that's really happening, I'll deal with it. I'm going to tell everybody to call you she.
Yeah.
Or non-binary. I mean, but it's the truth.
Well, that's the thing is, like, I don't agree with it, but at the same time, like, I'll go to that length. But here's the deal. The goalposts are going to continue to change. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, see, that's the point. But you try to stop it from moving. That's what I would instruct the EAP officer to do, or not officer, counselor. I said, look, do not move the goalposts. Because why? Because I'm not saying because it goes against our Christian values, but we have to teach these people how to respect other people as well. Because what this guy is trying to do is say, I'm not going to give anybody respect until they respect me first. But as Christians, we give respect before we get respect. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we do. We have to respect others. And we got to teach that trans dude, hey, look, dude, you got to respect the customers. If you don't like dealing with the customers, then you have to leave. But you got to remember this. Our job is to ensure that all of us respect you in here that's getting a paycheck. These other people, if they throw crap at you, we'll call the cops on your behalf. Just like if they throw something at me, I would expect you to call the cops, to protect me or whatever. But we can't make other employees, we can't make customers tell you, hey, if they see like your little Adam's apple, they call you he, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. So if you honestly need counseling because these customers are really bothering you that much, then you should honestly seek counseling. And if this is a something that you got from a workers' comp. If this is an injury you sustained on the job, mental health, then I'll file a workers' comp claim for you. And then, but then again, at the same time, it's going to be up to mental health professionals to deem you ready to go back to work or not. And you're going to hurt yourself. I said, look, but if you go down this route, you might become disabled and never work again because you're so angst about people calling you he when you want to be called she.
Well, see, that's the thing is that's why when we give people support, and I can see why, because here's the thing. I want to say on this show that although I vehemently oppose transgenderism, right? I think that it's it's obviously a delusion for a lot of people living in it. I mean, man, it's just the deal is if we're gonna just go by that, right? And I'm gonna obviously treat you just like any other human being, which I will. Then you kind of have to give me one thing to work with. We resolve that, and then you carry on. Like one thing I learned about reasonable accommodations when I was working in HR is it's like you make the accommodations, and then that should be it until the person like cannot do the job. You know what I mean? But you should still extend that. And the problem is, I feel like where's the end point, right? Where is it going to be pleasing for some people? It's like you can't help that people are going to disagree and probably are going to treat you a little different. Like that's just the deal.
Okay, check this out. I know this is on Reddit, but was this person being confrontational?
No, not at all.
Yes,
trying to help.
Yeah, no, and that's the point. As long as they're not confrontational, you owe it to them. And I'm not kidding you. I believe that
this is when I know you're gonna drop a bombshell.
Well, no. I believe people should start wearing crosses. Seriously, because Christians should openly tell people.
Well, here's
verbalizing it.
Sure. But here's the deal with crosses, right? I mean, that means that the cross, in my opinion, has lost a little bit of its novelty. It don't mean anything these days. You mean you got Satanists are wearing crosses, you got Jews wearing crosses. It's like
really?
Sucks.
I've
seen that. Well, I'm just saying, like it's kind of like a public proclamation of faith, like with a symbol or an idol or whatnot. I don't think is the best way to go about doing that. But your actions. That's the key here, because as we take it back to everything, it's all about the fruit that you bear. It's all about your actions. Like if that person don't need to wear a cross, that person, whether it's a customer or whatnot, just needs to treat you like another human being. That's
no, I'm talking about if you're an EAP. Okay, if you're an EAP counselor, right? Because here's the thing. Here's the problem. I believe transgender people are transgender. And oh God, because you heard what happened, right, about the gay guy. He used to be the Christian conversion counselor.
You talking about
30 years? This dude was doing this for 30 years.
Not Ted Haggard.
And then he turned out to be gay because he got fired for watching porn on his thing like 3 or 4 years ago. And I told you, porn is gay. I don't care what anyone says. Porn is hella gay, dude. But anyway.
That's why I stopped watching it.
Yeah, no, but it's the truth. Anyway, so this guy turned out, and then now he's gay, and he's like this big advocate for gay people or whatever, and he's downing Christians and just saying, oh, Christians are so this and that. But anyway, so long story, here's the point. Because these gay people and transgender people openly wear their symbols of being, and then they force us to do these things like use proper pronouns. I honestly believe we have to push back. If the cross is not good, then what about the fish symbol or something that allows people to know? Like when you're a counselor, and even if you're, maybe the symbols aren't good for everybody, but if you're an EAP counselor, I believe you should wear Christian symbols. And
EAP is also over the phone too. Like that's how we had it.
Crap,
you see what I mean? So yeah, EAP is something that your organization either may have internally if they're big, or they outsource it. That's usually how it is. It's like, hey, call the EAP. If you're having trouble at work, That's right. I'm glad you brought up EAP because that's something I haven't thought about in like a year because it's been like a year since I've had my HR job. But that's the thing, you know, and to take this back to your lawsuit or whatnot, this particular individual, it sounds like he wasn't well trained or well equipped, right? Or
no, he wasn't trained at all. But let me get back to the point about the transgender guy. Because these people are openly wearing their symbols and they're forcing us to play their game or participate in their, because they say it's an illusion, but it's not an illusion. I honestly believe that this is a movement that these devil worshippers really envisioned for all of us way back in the 60s and the 70s. And it's coming to fruition now in 2020, which is almost, you know, it's 2020 in a few months. So you know what I mean? But that's the end game. It's already here. So we have to push back, you know, with real Christian principles and no more Judeo-Christian stuff and all that fake Christianity stuff that a lot of people are, you know, because here's the thing. And this is why I know a lot of these people are fake Christians. You know, with the hurricanes that recently happened?
Yep.
You saw a lot of Christian dudes not knowing how to explain it. They're like, you know, sometimes God makes bad things happen to good people. And I'm like, no, he doesn't. God has nothing to do with this. When you get cancer, it's not God punishing you or anything like that. It's your lifestyle choices. You guys, because, you know, like there's something called generational curses, right?
Right.
And it's not so much that God put it on them. God is just telling you, look, I'm the master of time. I have seen your curse because you're going to teach your kids how to be bad. And those kids are going to teach their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren how to be bad for generations. And until you accept Christ, that's how you break the curse. But it's the truth. That's how you break a generational curse, is when you wake up and then you accept Christianity. It's that simple.
Accept Christ. Yeah, that's really all it is.
Is that what accept Christ. Not a Christianity. It's, you got to accept Jesus as your, you know, as the Savior and the Son of God and all the stuff that he had done. You got to accept it. But if you don't, guess what happens? The curse continues. You're always going to be plagued with the same stuff your parents and grandparents are plagued with. And so that's how it works.
No, I want to bring this up because I want to talk. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, you.
No. That was basically, and these transgenders are just making that curse way, way worse. And the thing is, Christians are too afraid to, not like, because.
Well, they don't want to offend, but I'm like, sometimes the truth offends. Jesus offended plenty of people.
Yeah, well, see, but here's the thing. I know Jesus, well, I mean, because look at Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa offended both, like nobody liked her, you know, because, and it's just like Jesus wasn't liked, you know, like the prophet's not liked in his hometown. It's just a reality.
They kill all their prophets.
No, but it's the truth.
It's the truth.
He wasn't liked because nobody likes change, because everybody, they're so entrenched in the carnal mind that it's insane how it, it's mind-boggling. But going back to the, you know, how to tie the transgender to the what happened in this particular case, these people don't know how to stand up for themselves without interrupting everybody else's workflow.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, the guy wasn't trained. He worked with raw sewage, which is poop and pee and
without protective gear, he's screwed.
Yeah, no, but that's the point. But he's inarticulate. He had no idea how to speak or anything like that. He was just, you know, and because of it, look, he's injured. He may or may not have asthma. All these issues that he has, and guess what? The employer doesn't have to do anything. Why? Because they're committing workers' comp fraud. And it's hard to prove, because if you don't know how to articulate, you know, you're done. And you know, most Christians do not know how to articulate what's right. They don't.
Because they're not versed in the word. You just need the word is all you
No, but think about this. The transgender dude that you talked about on Reddit, he knows how to articulate his quote unquote rights because they're trained to. Christians are trained to be quiet. And these transgenders, loud and proud and in your face. And that's the thing. So I'm hoping, you know, through our podcast that people really are going to start becoming, you know, aware of their rights and how to articulate what's the right thing to do. Because it's absolute. It's not like, oh, you know, and maybe for another episode, we'll get into how does let your yes mean yes and you know mean no, and how it applies to law and your rights. Because that's an absolute truth that Jesus said. It's an absolute truth. You know someone's BSing you when they cannot answer you with a simple yes or no. Well, you know, yes, but blah blah, and then they explain their no.
Well, the most important word there is but. But is what is but hold on. It's like yes but no. You know, but is the conjunction that means, well, you know what, I don't really mean yeah. You know what?
No, but you want to know what cultural this is the cultural phenomenon.
That's why when people say no buts.
Yeah.
That's the real.
No, check this out. You know, the biggest cultural phenomenon in our society, in the world today, stole it from the Bible. And that is Star Wars. Yoda literally quoted the Bible, but instead of saying let your yes mean yes and your no mean no, he said there is no try. Either you do or you do not. That's from the Bible. But they don't want to admit it. George Lucas, but you know what I mean? Come on, think about it. Yoda saying let your yes mean yes. I mean, there is no try.
But okay, so no. I got something even better for you that I think people listening to this are going to get a kick out of. There's a part where Luke is training with Yoda, and he says, is the dark side stronger? And Yoda goes, no, but it's the easier, more broad way. And that's literally a quote from Jesus. The way that leads to life is the straight gate, which is the narrow gate. It's harder to go through it, and the broad gate is the one that leads to destruction. This is in the book of Matthew, and Yoda says the same thing. He's like, is the dark side stronger? He's like, no, but it's the harder, more narrow. It's more difficult. It's like because the dark side is easy because it's basically it represents all the carnal lusts of man, you know, anger, give into your hate, your lust, your whatnot, you know what I mean? And that's where I think if you want to ask me Star Wars and Christianity, that's where the appropriation
but think about this. But think about this. How many people do you see walking around with Star Wars shirts and things like that?
I'm one of them. I mean,
yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, like I have, you know, seriously, I was gonna name one of my clubs the Mandalore. You know, Mandalore.
Dude, you're a Star Wars guy. I didn't even know this.
Yeah,
Star
I
Wars
love
is
science
awesome.
fiction.
Yeah, I love Star Wars.
But that's the point. All of these people who love Star Wars, they're begging for Christianity because it's just come on, all of that stuff with the dark side and. Oh man, that's like I didn't really know Matthew like you did, so I didn't pick up on the Matthew stuff.
The way to life is gonna be a narrow way that few people will find.
But now think about this: people are afraid to wear anything that says Christianity, but they're not afraid to wear Star Wars crap. Yeah. You know, which is a total ripoff of the Bible, which I didn't realize until just recently, because I was like, "Hey!"
But if you think about it, Lord of the Rings, all this stuff. By the way, Tolkien was an atheist who became a Christian. Like everybody takes from the Bible. Here's the thing: it's the only original book with stories, but it's all true. They're all real stories. They all really happened. But the thing is, people just take like you'll see the same symbolism of like the hero's journey, which is a common thing in literature, which is like a character goes through a struggle. Like, yeah, that's basically the story of man. That you know.
You want to know what's crazy? The greatest story ever told was the story of Jesus, and his story ended in tragedy. You know
no, it didn't end in tragedy.
No. Hold on. Hear me out. Because his death was inevitable. He had to die.
Right.
And because he had to die, it's a sad story. His human flesh died. But of course, he's in heaven.
God.
So that's the. Yeah. But think about it. No other story could ever beat that story.
Yeah.
Because that is the greatest story. And because look, he is the ultimate hero. He sacrificed his life. He knew he was going to die.
And we all know that no matter how we look at stories, whether they change over time or not, whenever the main guy gives his life for other people, dude, there's nothing that comes in comparison. Like the story is just transformed. You got different characters, different settings, past, future, present. Nah, but we go out for that. Like we as people have a drawing to that because that's what God did for us. So,
well, have you seen The Passion of the Christ?
Many years ago when it first came out.
No, because that I want to see it now because I'm thinking that has to be a crazy story because they go, man, dude, that's a graphic story.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That literally happened. He was beaten like that. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine that? You're a good dude. Like, seriously, you're a good dude. You know, you're helping all the people that nobody likes, like the prostitutes and
the lepers. They call them lepers in the Bible. You know,
yeah, no, but the lepers, like, he was helping all these people. And man, and then just to know that you're gonna go through what you're gonna go through.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's insane. That's an insane, like no human would ever do.
But they call it the gospel for a reason. The good news, the greatest story. Greatest story that's true. And here's the thing. You want to hear the real kicker here? Because now you got me on a Christian tangent. is all of the stories of the Old Testament prophesize that story, and all the stories after Christ just refer back to him. That, if you think about it, that's all it is.
Yeah. No, but remember I was telling you that too, like the whole story of like when I was reading Exodus, I'm thinking, this is like I know she's a little fussy.
People are gonna complain.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, so long story short, but I'm telling you now, when you understand Genesis and Exodus, that's all pre-Christian stories. Seriously, it really is. People don't get it.
Well, here's also another thing that's trippy that I think I wish more people kind of figured out, because people are like, oh man, New Testament, that's when like Christ came and all you have to do is accept him, and like before then people had to do animal sacrifices and all that to get their sins purified and go to heaven and all that kind of stuff. And what people actually fail to realize is that even in the old days, like before Christ, we're talking like Abraham and all that, you didn't actually need to do all of that stuff. You just needed to have faith. And then what would follow because of your faith, which is why people say it's of faith, not of works, is that you would do works to do, you know what I mean? But you can't have works without faith, because then it's like, what does it mean? Here's the deal. When I know the baby, I can't even think, but this is what happens when you have a kid.
Don't let her interrupt.
Okay. Well, what I was saying was this. If you go back and you read the Old Testament and you see wherever it says Lord, but not God, the thing is, like, Jesus was a man among men. Like when Enoch walked with the Lord, Jesus was literally on this planet. He was like a guy just help. No, I'm serious, because people think, oh, Jesus didn't come until he was a baby. Yeah, but he's God, so he can do that. He can come in man form.
Right, I believe something special happened to Enoch that is not in the. Because, dude, I'm telling you now.
So here's the thing. In Genesis, it says he walked with the Lord, and every time you see where Lord pops up, it's always referring to Jesus. It's not referring to God, because here's the thing: whenever you see in the Old Testament where the Lord appeared before somebody, it's always Jesus, because it's a man. Because it's been said already that if you look at God directly, like the Father in heaven, you can't survive. In fact, Moses saw the back of him and went crazy. And
he aged rapidly, and something happened to his mind. He couldn't comprehend. And I'm telling you now,
he looked at the back of God and like.
Yeah, no, but something happened to Enoch. Well, I mean, because I think it was more.
Enoch didn't die a regular human death. He was taken. He never experienced a body death. That's what it says, because he was faithful.
But I believe Enoch had some kind of special experience, because I'm telling you, it's incomplete. But anyway, no, because something special happened to Enoch because he was the one that knew about the flood and all this other stuff. Like,
well,
you know,
God told Noah that he was going to send a great flood. Kid.
No, but Enoch was the one that told God, "Hey, spare Noah." You know what I mean?
I don't think. Well, we have to go back and. I don't think that that's the case because God decided that it was going to be that line.
It's going to be done.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, because it doesn't say in the Bible. I'm just trying to guess, but I'm telling you now, there's something special happened to Enoch because he kept seeing the Lord, and he kept going and seeing things. And, you know, and for some reason, they kept talking to him. You know what I mean? And it's like, why him? Why did he know? Like, you know, and I'm telling, it's not in the Bible, but there's something special about Enoch that we just don't know.
Yeah, because he didn't die a regular death. This guy literally was taken away. Like literally his body was gone. Like, it's not.
Well, and I believe, too, that, yeah, I don't know, because
there's another individual I think that happens to. It happens to another prophet, but I again, my Old Testament is I don't know if it's Ezekiel or Isaiah or somebody, but there's another Old Testament patriarch or a prophet that was just taken away. Just one day he was gone.
Yeah, no, but anyway, so going back to the lawsuit,
I'm on a tangent.
No, but because I want people to honestly understand too the importance of having your attorney not argue with all of that gray area stuff. They have to, like, if you're the plaintiff or a defendant or whoever, it doesn't matter. You have to get these people to admit based on yes and no, no gray area in between, because that's how you win. And if you win that way, every single thing you do, just like with the transgender, you know, whatever this person went through, you could break it down to a series of yes or no's. And remember what we spoke about earlier. Are other employees treating you with disrespect? Are they the ones giving you, you know, calling you he and saying all these rude things to you? And you know, and that's either a yes or no.
Yeah.
And if it's a no, then you have no case. Like, look, if it's no, you got to stop. You know, go and I'll do a workers' comp thing for you. Would you like workers' comp? Yes or no? And boom. And they'll say no, because why? They just want, and then you know the sincerity of this person. You know what I mean? Because is this transgender person really sincere, or do they just want to start trouble just for the sake of starting trouble?
Just start trouble.
No, but I mean, because we don't want to say, like, but because we don't know. But that's how you find out. Because some of these people really are mentally ill, and you got to help the mentally ill. And then through your Christian way of living and how you accept, you know, Jesus and stuff like that, they're going to learn from you. And they're going to say, you know what, like Bruce Jenner, I'm tired of doing this craziness. You know, like I heard Bruce Jenner's going to go back to being a man.
Oh, man, really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, no, but because he gets tired of it. You know what I mean? You get tired. I mean, look, when, you know, when Bruce Jenner's story started falling apart?
Yeah.
When they were trying to make him go on a date with the dude. And he was like, well, I don't think I could do it. You know what I mean? Like kiss a man and all this other stuff because he wasn't gay.
I'm sorry, the kid, we got to...
Yeah. Here, just do that. Hold on a second. Just ab-lib for like... hold on, let me just put her...
Yeah, I know, and I know people probably get frustrated with the baby, but we got to figure it out. It's just how it works.
Anyway, sorry about that. She's all right. Because we're almost done anyway. Yeah, so... But anyway, so I'm telling you now, you know when someone's seriously a transgender person, you know, which is still a mental illness, but you know when they seriously are sincere or they're doing a Bruce Jenner or Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah.
I think that's her name. But you know what I mean? And that's the whole thing. It's like, and if you treat them with respect, but you follow every rule, like whether you're EAP officer or an attorney, whoever, you break it down with a series of yes and no's. Do not accept all of that, gray area stuff. Oh, yes, but it's like, no, it's a simple yes or no.
It's yes, but whenever someone says but, they don't really mean yeah.
Yeah, they don't. They do it on purpose, these people. So, yeah, it's so crazy. These people. But anyway, so I really do want to get into specifics, like in how to fight lawsuits and how to, or get into a lawsuit, how to, what to look for in your complaint, how to hit all the elements. Because, in theory, you really don't need to be an attorney. All you have to do is look it up. Like, what's your problem? See the causes of action that you can sue under. Look up the jury instructions, and it'll tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
This is not something that you really need to go years and years of school. It's either you're right or you're wrong. If you were wronged, then you should be able to do it yourself. You don't need an attorney with all this stuff because, in California courts, and I'm pretty sure all courts are like this across the country. In federal courts, I know this to be true. And in California courts, this is to be true. If you're representing yourself in per se, then the legal standard is lower. So, I'm not saying, if you could afford an attorney, make sure he's a good attorney that understands yes and no. And I honestly believe you get a good Christian lawyer, somebody who honestly believes in God. Not a phony Christian who's like, I'm going to do a couple of Hail Marys and I go to church. You know what I mean? Like something like that, because, gosh, this reminds me of this abortion thing from yesterday too, because this is true. Mm-hmm. When a lawyer cannot argue why abortions are bad.
Cannot, right?
They're not a Christian.
Well, because here's the thing, and I heard this from an ex-abortionist, right? He says in law, there's really two things that need accurate defining, and abortion is the one thing that has ambiguity because in law, there's either person or property. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day, with decisions that you make, how you define certain things. That's why law is so damn complicated. It's just because you got to make sure that you have your definitions right.
But for a Christian...
Right, because the fetus to some people are property. This is my body, my choice, so my property, not a person. You see what I mean? A person with rights, that type of thing. That's why when you said if a lawyer can't defend or whatever, can't define it, that's the reason why, is because people can't settle on the fact of whether it's a person or property.
Yeah, but no human is property. Not anymore. So that argument's already gone. So is it a human? And the answer is yes. As soon as at conception, it is a real human being. It's just at a different form. Because if the same way a retarded dude in a wheelchair that can never speak, can never walk, all contorted with those contractures, that dude's a human. He's not participating in anything. Why can't we kill him?
Because it messed up. It's a life. It's a human.
It's still a life. Exactly. A life is a life no matter what. Because the thing is, it can't live outside the body without help. Yeah, neither can these retards and live in the way they live. So it doesn't matter. We already have precedents. But a good Christian attorney will know this, and they will know how to argue and win this case every single time. Because humans are not property. Even if you're a minor child, they are not property. You got to have conservatorship and all this other stuff. So, you know what I mean? And so, or as they call them, a guardian ad litem. So if that's the thing, so are you going to be their guardian ad litem? The fetus should have a guardian ad litem because they're not property. It's a real human life.
Right.
And so anyway, but that's what I'm saying. And I'm not, because I honestly don't know who's listening. but I'm assuming everybody's Christian.
Yeah.
So as Christians, we honestly have to be vigilant and put people to the test, because there's nothing wrong with testing to know if somebody's a true Christian or not. You know, which is why I asked you the other day about what do you really want to do?
I now do. I feel like I know now. I
Yeah,
can tell you after the show.
do what you love.
Yeah.
Because that's the hardest part in being a Christian, is loving yourself. Seriously, it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing, because like I don't even love myself. Even now, I still don't love myself.
You know why? You know why that is, though? Because my dad and I had a conversation about this. Because he actually loves the show. He's just like, dude, this guy's on point.
Oh, cool.
But it's you got to forgive yourself first. You can't.
Yeah, dude, I did a lot of shitty.
But see, you got to forgive yourself first before you can do that. And once you do, you'll be good.
Yeah, I hope, but not because you know what? Because I've done a lot. Even like, because like you know what I mean? Like I know I should act better. You know, because even in court, you know what I mean? Like, because you know, like, oh man, and then like one of the attorneys, you know, the dude was almost. You know, like, dude, you know what I mean? It was bad. But, and I was like, fuck you guys, you got to suck it up. You know what I mean? It's like blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And then I start going off on things and just because it's the truth. Maybe I shouldn't be so harsh on people, but it's the truth. If you honestly do believe in God, you should know these things.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I have little patience for people who know or should know. Seriously, like, every single Christian should know that it's a life. The same way that retard in a wheelchair's life, that, you know, that doesn't contribute as 100%. Like, seriously, everybody believes a retarded guy with all contraction is going to be Stephen Hawkins. You know what I mean? But it's not like that. Most of those people have zero intelligence, like literally zero. Their IQ is between 0 and 19. You know, their IQ is used to poop. That's the only thing they can do. They could barely chew. And they don't even know what, you know what I mean? So if that's life, then how is a human being who's conceived, who could potentially be the president or a judge or, you know, or a construction worker or a good architect, whatever, or an illegal alien, you know, looking to improve something. But you know what I mean? How is that not a life? Because we have so many examples of unproductive life. How can you say something with so much potential is not a life? You know what I mean? Even if it's just a dude just to, you know, serve in the military in an unjust war, it's still a life that this person can have, because you never know. You never know. So if they don't know how to argue that, dude, you're toast. And that's why, like, so with my thinking, like how educated people have a higher standard, or man, it makes me mad. You know what I mean? It just pisses me off. And so like, oh, these past 2 weeks, oh, I know I was not a good Christian, dude. No, because it's like, oh man, I swear to God, like if the counselor wasn't there, I would have just put just kicked them so like, and I've kicked people so hard where I'll leave a shoe print on their face. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, it's like, man, I really wanted to do this. I really wanted to. But then, you know, and he was all like boo-hooing, oh, you calling me stupid. I said, I never said you were stupid. Quote me right. I said, sure, this, that. And just like, and then a counselor goes, yeah, but you break down people. You know how to hurt people without cursing, without, you know, using violence. You still hurt people just as bad, and you know you do it. And I was like, of course. How do you think they're gonna learn? You know what I mean? Like, I gotta learn how to teach people another way other than just breaking them down and making them feel stupid. You know what I mean? And that's, you know what I mean? So it's like, in theory, I should have let it go, but I don't know any other way. And then so I'm boom, right back to it.
Well, we'll
you know
keep,
what I mean?
Yeah, we'll have to wrap it up. We'll have to keep talking about this a little bit more. I'll actually converse with you a little bit about this real quick off air. But yeah, any final thoughts before we jump?
No, like seriously, I want to get very specific and more detailed on how to handle your own lawsuits if you need it. You know what I mean? And then do it with the Christian perspective and all this other stuff and whatnot. So yeah, that's my final thoughts. Cool. But I'm glad to be back too.
Yeah, man. No, I'm glad to have you back, guys. So thank you for listening, guys. Yes, I know that we were gone for a couple of weeks, but it's good to be talking again. And let us know how things go. I'll set up an email, and then I'll announce it on the show for all of you folks to write in questions or whatnot when you're not. Right now, I know people just kind of email me here and there. But yeah, stay tuned, guys. Take care, and we'll see you soon.